is definitely out of this race. Now the driver, the leader, gets to pick the right or left side for the restart. You can see that Will Power has decided to go on the inside, as everyone expected. And he must be the first to cross the finish line. And as he slows down, wait for the flag. Here we go. We're back green.
A little bit more caution, a little bit more respect on that time through.
Made it through turn 3 this time. And you can see right there, Dario Franchitti. Will Power has slid back. He is into the 3rd position. And he's under attack from the 28 of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Our race leader is Dario Franchitti. That's Tony Kanaan in 2nd, as Kanaan got a good run through that sequence of corners. Oh, and more damage. I just saw that car at the very tail end. Was that Graham Rahal's car?
Like had contact from the back because the rear wing was laying down. It was being held on by the SWEMS device. So that's a cable that's on the back of the car that will not allow any of the parts to dislodge, including the rear wing. So he'll try to work his way into pit lane. They'll exchange that, and hopefully he'll be off.
So our 2008 winner has problems here early in the race. And as we begin lap number 6 of 100, it is Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, then Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Alex Tagliani, your top 5.
And for Franchitti, remember, he had that problem earlier this weekend where he ended up hitting the wall and going in and taking the side of the car off. They did the repairs. He qualified his primary car. He's now leading the race. What he's going to try to accomplish here is just hit all his marks, all his points, and be smooth. He knows he's got a fierce competitor behind him right now, Tony Kanaan, who's aboard the new Geico machine with a new team.
Damage on Danica Patrick's car. Now maybe this is a connection between her and Graham Rahal's situation. Let's take a look to see.
Coming into turn 4. Oh, a lot of bumper cars going on. Graham Rahal just on the outside, got taken out with that. Her wings are still fine. No contact yet so far for her. But that is where Graham Rahal had contact.
We're going full course caution right now. Still don't know exactly what happened to Danica, though.
But very smart thing that she did. She decided herself, or the team told her to stay out because they maybe would have a yellow come along, and now it will. She will not lose a lap.
EJ Viso, we talked about the fact he's already had 3 cars into the wall, 2 through mechanical failure, but now he has spun it out again, and is that looks to be the turn 13 area? We'll wait to see if he can get refired. Meanwhile, Ryan Briscoe is in pit lane. Jamie Little's caught up.
That's right, Marty. He was fastest in this morning's warm-up. Big disappointment. Obviously, he was involved in that first corner pile-up. They're working on the left front suspension. He's been sitting on pit road for a few minutes now, so they're not sure if they're going to be able to continue, but the team is working to get the number 6 back on track.
And the reason for that is just to be able to get back out and collect points towards the championship. And spoke to a lot of the team managers here in the mechanics this weekend. And with the new rules as they are, they want to make sure that they can go ahead and repair the cars. Because when I say the rules, we're talking about the restarts being double file. Obviously, we had a problem on the start itself. But the restarts themselves, they expect to maybe have to change wings and tie rods. And that's what they're doing right there on Ryan Briscoe's car to help to straighten the steering out. And they're prepared for it. They will have 1 spare out in pit lane, Marty. And then they do have more spares built back in their trailers back in the garage area.
And you saw that was EJ Viso's car in turn 13, where he is getting an assist to get restarted. Let's get an update on Graham Rahal's situation. Vince.
Well, significant damage in the rear wing. Take a look and you can see all the cosmetic damage done to the wing. They have replaced it, and as we walk out toward the pit lane, you can see that they're replacing the rear wing. But the good news is there was no significant rear suspension damage. So that would have been something that could have sidelined Rahal for the remainder of the race. They can at least replace the rear wing, but no rear suspension damage, key for Graham Rahal, although obviously certainly not the way he wanted to get this event started.
Yeah, he's 2 laps down and still on pit lane. Let's go back a little bit further and to the beginning of the race. We've caught up with Mike Conway and Rick DeBrule. You've got him?
Yeah, very frustrated, as you can imagine. At one point, they thought they might be able to repair the car, but they weren't able to do that. And I have to ask you, I mean, you had the potential for a potential victory here. You seem so enthused coming into this. How frustrating is this moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because, first corner incidents, no fault of my own. So I don't really know what happened. I've not seen the replay properly yet. But, someone's fault. So a shame. Took me out, Dixon, a couple of others. Marco, my teammate Marco's out as well. And, it's just silly, really. The first lap of the race, there's no need for that.
Did you have a strategy for those double foul restarts? Had anybody talked about maybe taking it easy? And obviously, once the race started, it went away?
Well, I mean, we used the double foul restarts to start the race, so that's nothing new, So to do it again on the restarts, I don't see such a problem. But I don't know. If we can't get the first one right, then we're surely not going to get the second one right. So I don't know.
All right, Mike Conway, very frustrated. Marty?
Well, in the background, you saw Graham Rahal's car coming back out onto the track. We've run 7 of 100 laps, and we've been in the middle of our second caution. Stay with us. Just about ready to go back to green flag racing. Our race leaders, Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alex Tagliani, Justin Wilson. That is your top 6. And it looks like we're going to go one more time around. So it'll be, we might be going back to green this time, but not the case. Still some cleanup to do.
And Marty, with all these yellows now, a lot of teams are trying to anticipate this race at the beginning about making it on 2 stops, but they had to get lap 33 or 34 to be able to do that under green flag conditions. With the yellow cautions that we've had now, fuel mileage will not be a problem to be able to stretch it out a little bit. This will now be a 2-stop race for all these teams.
There's Danica Patrick back out after the damage to the nose of her car. And Vince, do we know what actually happened to her?
Her team believes that she was trying to get underneath Anna Beatrice and made contact there. They did replace the front nose assembly. No suspension damage. Here is the communication from Danica on her radio.
Obviously, we had a little glitch in the radio, but Danica now back out there with a new wing, as we'll be going green this time by. She is on the blacks. We can tell you most of the teams are still on the alternate reds, which are the softer compound.
Here we go into turn 1 from 6th gear down to 2nd from 155, 60 miles an hour into turn 1 at about 55 or 60, and just not enough room for her to get through there, and ends up catching the wing. Very fragile, those wings. Those tires seem to pick them up and slip them very quickly.
And a tip of the hat to the crew in the tape room, because they're looking literally at dozens of cameras trying to pick out which one has the incident. And here comes the pace car back onto pit lane. They'll form up in the double file restart. We'll try it again.
Watch Tony Kanaan on the right-hand side board the KV Geico car.
Green.
4 wide, down into 1.
Marty, Marty, I know it's more pressures as we see Tony Kanaan now starting to have a look on the inside of Dario Franchitti. Couldn't get it completed. But I think this is what these new style restarts do for us. It keeps the pack closer together, allows the drivers to have a shot at passing at the car at front. The old style system where drivers used to get on the gas back in turns 11 and 12 and spread out a lead, and it was a single file, as we now see Oriol Servia, who looks like he has a flat left rear tire, off into the runoff area.
And that's down at turn number 4, as you can see, or I should say turn number 8, as you can see on the map. He'll make his way back around to try and get another tire on there and get back out to the competition. That's his second incident.
But going back to the restarts, I'm already a fan of them. I know the drivers that are out there singing the seats are probably not, but it's brought excitement.
Ryan Briscoe back out, but looks like he may have some more damage. Look at the nose, and there's a piece right in the middle of the racetrack, and we're going to have another full course caution. And he is coming back in to pit road. So this has turned into a very eventful day for the driver of the number 6 already.
Well, we also have to remember it's the first race of the season. We're in close confines here at the streets of St. Petersburg, but all these drivers will go back and look at this race and know that they could have done a much better job without having the contact with each other. Quick release nose. They'll pull that nose off, replace it with the new one. The new one is already reset at the proper wing angles for that particular driver. Oh, just running out of road. He's already lost the wing, so he's actually on the outside. So we can see aboard his IZOD machine right now, right along with Ryan Briscoe. Some great running on the outside, and there's the information we needed. That's why the flat tire with Oriol Servia's car just caught the wing on the tire.
So again, the tape shows exactly what happened to both Oriol and to the number 6 of Ryan Briscoe. Top of your screen, you'll see which combination the tire that the individual driver is on. The red alternates the softer compound, but they give up a little bit quicker than the primary black compound tires. Under our third caution gives us time to talk about our NBA destination, because your NBA destination is ESPN. And tomorrow night, the playoff push continues with a doubleheader. First at 8 Eastern, LaMarcus Aldridge and the Trailblazers take on Kevin Durant and the Thunder. Then at 10:30 Eastern, it's Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks facing Steve Nash and the Suns. The NBA on ESPN tomorrow, and both games are available online at ESPN3.com and on your phone. Still under our third caution of the day so far. Dario Franchitti has been one of 2 leaders. He's led 8 laps. Will Power led the first 4. We have one car officially out of the race, that being Marco Andretti. But as we heard, it's maybe only a matter of time between what happens with Mike Conway's car, because they didn't know if they could get that one back as well. But several other cars, Scott Dixon back out there, 4 laps down. Graham Rahal, 4 laps down. They're running 18th, 19th. Ryan Briscoe is in 20th right now, 5 laps down. All right, Danica is talking on the radio about the double foul restarts. Let's listen in.
Man, those fucking restarts are ridiculous. They go so fast, and then they bunch up so slow.
Yeah, it looks crazy.
And I can assure you that all the team owners right now are relating the information to their drivers, saying, you know something, let's just make sure we get through turn 1 on the restart. We got a long ways to go. We're just 13, 14 laps into this event. Let's use our heads. Let's be smart. Shorten up the braking zones. Give a little bit more room to the cars around you. And then just start taking care of the cars in the turns ahead. Outbrake them, get past them, outsmart them. But right now, we got to get through turn 1.
Forming up again for the restart, it will be choosing the inside race leader Dario Franchitti. Behind him, Tony Kanaan, or alongside, I should say. Then Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Justin Wilson. Simona Di Silvestro has moved up to the 6th position. Alex Tagliani in 7th. And there you can see a great green.
Now, Tony was a little bit slow on the gas that time, and it
more contact
might cause a problem there.
The 34 goes around. That is Sebastian Saavedra. He's already in a backup car after having hard contact yesterday in qualifying.
I'm out. I need to...
Now the car was still running, and he tried to get it going, but let the clutch out too fast and stalled it.
Just tell me to restart.
No full course caution. It's just a local yellow right now, and Dario Franchitti takes advantage of the situation to jump out to a sizable lead, the biggest we've seen early in the race. full course caution comes out. And did you notice who has worked her way up to second position? The 78 of Simona Di Silvestro. So a lot of other guys may not like the double foul restart, but Simona's using it to her advantage.
Well, interesting story with Simona because her longtime engineer that she used last year, Michael Cannon, she thought she was going to use him this season. And when Tony Kanaan went over to KV Racing, Michael left and changed teams on Monday. So she had to start here in this weekend with a new engineer, Brent Harvey, who has years of experience and a top-rate engineer. She said, like him, he does a great job, but we're learning to communicate with each other. We will get stronger as the year goes on.
Let's go back and show you again this restart, why we're under this fourth caution.
Well, as drivers always do, they are told in the drivers' meeting, as we see going into turn one right now, a lot of people trying to make room on the inside. I mean, this is not science, guys. This never works. We've seen it happen at many tracks, whether it's Edmonton or the old Cleveland airport circuit that we used to run on. The driver up in front is going to go towards the inside, towards the apex. There will not be room for you when you get there.
Well, we'll give you one more view from J.R. Hildebrand as we get ready to head to commercial break. We'll be back with more after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back here at the streets of St. Petersburg, where we're under our fourth caution, we can tell you that Elio Castroneves is back out on track, and we are getting ready to go back to green flag racing, as again we'll go to the double foul restart. A quick update, we can tell you Danica is running 12th. Six-car crash back on lap number 1 at the very start. We've already had 4 cautions in the first 13 laps. Cars begin to form up. They come to the start line, and green flag flies again. It is Franchitti, Di Silvestro, Wilson. That's your top 3. Tony Kanaan on the outside there, going around Justin Wilson. Vitor Mira getting into the mix with the 14 and making a move on Will Power. So Power, who was dominant all day yesterday and even back to Friday, is finding himself under attack early and often.
But makes the move on Vitor Mira, gets past him. Marty going down to turn 4. A lot of drivers I spoke to said that Will Power is so fast going into 4 through 9. If he gets out front, they just can't keep up with him. I am surprised that he is back where he is right now. Maybe he's just waiting for the car to come into the track to rubber in for him.
And we should send our get well wishes to AJ Foyt. He had a stent put in a procedure on Friday, had 95% blockage. And there is a pass right there as his car is being passed.
Alex Tagliani does a nice move, getting on the inside of Vitor Mira.
We already told you that Elio Castroneves is back out on track. He is 14 laps down right now in 22nd position. Back here at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, we have had a caution-filled event so far. 4 cautions for a total of 9 laps. We're working lap 18 of 100. Our race leader is Dario Franchitti. Second place is Simona Di Silvestro. Tony Kanaan is third. Justin Wilson fourth. Will Power, our pole sitter, running in the 5th position. 1 car officially listed out of the race. That is Marco Andretti, but a couple of others are questionable, including Mike Conway's, although they are working on it. He did not sound enthused about his chances of getting back.
Well, he didn't, and his teammate Marco Andretti, some unfortunate luck, made somewhat of a good move going down the inside of turn 1 on the initial start. Got tagged from behind from Elio Castroneves in the guide point machine, so for him, some frustration. I'm sure he'll have some words with Elio, but not the way you want to start the first race of the championship season.
Well, if you want more bad news for the camp, the Andretti Autosport, just check in with Rick DeBrule.
Yeah, we're down here with Ryan Hunter-Ray. They are continuing to work on the car, but they got a problem on the right front. What happened, Ryan?
Well, racing with Dario, Will, and Tony was fine. It was all the other guys behind us that just came down, not using their head. Just cleared us out from behind, bent the suspension. So these restarts, they're all great on ovals when you have like NASCAR running really slow cars that are slow to move, slow to accelerate. You get all these cars that can go from 100 miles an hour down to 30 like that, you're going to have big problems. So it's ridiculous. I mean, you run a good race, you run a 3rd, 4th, and you got to go put yourself on the outside with a bunch of just
other drivers.
Yeah, bleep.
A very frustrated Ryan Hunter-Ray, as you can imagine. He was running very well, had frustrated in qualifying, was making up for it, and now he's potentially going to come back, but it's going to be a while.
So let's see, Danica had wing damage. You already know about what happened to Mike Conway and Marco Andretti. So here's the 4th car. It's not been a good day for Andretti Autosport at all.
I'm taking that Ryan's not a fan of the double restart. I'm not sure about you, but
I think so. And remember, it was Andretti Autosport that the only time in series history finished on the podium and +1. They ran 1 through 4 back in 2005. The only time it's ever happened. And right now, they're down to basically 1 car on the track, and there she is.
And that was won by St. Petersburg residents Dan Weldon, who just announced here recently that he will be running the Indianapolis 500 with Herta Motorsport come this May.
Speaking of Danica, check in. You can see right there that she is in the 9th position, and that's James Jakes right in front of her. Jakes taking advantage of all the restarts to work his way up through the field as his rookie ride. There he is in the backup car. So far, that car doing well. The 5 there you saw of Takumo Sato. He is running in the 10th position.
That shot right there going by the National Guard machine of J.R. Hildebrand. Remember, he started at the very back of the pack. He did not have a very good day on Friday. Didn't even have a very good test at Barber Motorsport Park a couple of weeks ago. Did not get through the first day. Ended up crashing the car. They went home early. Did not participate in the second day. Went back to Barber later that next week. But he has been really pushing this car, driving it very hard. He comes out of the Indy Lights series. He almost been driving it like an Indy Lights car. It seems like he's got a better handle on it today than he did the first couple of days. Talented, aggressive, just needs to learn a little bit of patience.
Well, you heard Ryan Hunter-Ray talk about NASCAR and the fact that the double foul restarts work real well there. Of course, that young lady has had experience with it 4 times already this year. She talked about the experience of crossing over from IndyCar to NASCAR.
Everybody kind of looks at this going back and forth as this big deal or challenge or something, but honestly, it's like riding a bicycle. You know, you drive one car, you drive another. You're familiar, you understand. There's so much different that it's not like I forget the technique for one or the other.
But both sides. I mean, I get to see both sides, and everybody that drives on a regular basis says, yeah, you won't forget, but practice makes perfect.
And to be at the very top of the level of the classification that you're driving in, you need to be doing it each and every day. It needs to be an extension of your body. It doesn't matter if you're driving go-karts, a Formula Junior car, or a stock car. As we have the Firestone telemetry now, you'll see exactly the speed that she carries and going up through, how much throttle she has in the braking. But I will tell you, Marty, that after all those years of driving Indy cars like I did, got an invitation to go drive the IROC Series. The first time I got into the IROC car at Daytona to go off and do a test, it is a different world. It's like somebody blindfolds you, puts you on an airplane, takes you maybe somewhere in Europe and lets you step off the plane, takes your blindfold off. I understand what she's saying. I don't agree with it. I saw this with Sam Hornish, and I think that his ability on an IndyCar diminished the year that he did both, and I don't think that you can go and be the fastest in the fastest group by doing both in the same year. Will you be good? Probably. Will you be able to run up there? Yes. Are you going to be that person that's sitting on pole and setting records? I don't see it.
Just keep being smart out there. You're winning by just being smart.
Copy, thanks.
Interesting comment from the team. You're winning by just being smart, because basically they're right. There's been a lot of guys that haven't been very smart.
Well, it's attrition, and it goes back to a point I made a while ago. I'm sure they're telling you on the restarts right now, keep it clean, shorten up your braking point, give yourself some more room to the other driver that's around you. Remember, these guys have not raced, guys and girls have not raced since the tail end of last year back in October, so it's been some time off. Yes, you've had some testing. Yes, you can get back into the rhythm, but to be able to drive the car in anger, it's very different than it is going out and testing.
Vince, you've got more?
You know, they were very disappointed with their qualifying. She qualified 19th for the race today, and they felt like they were a car that should have been closer to the top 10. And George Klotz, her strategist, told me before the race, I'm not sure how we're going to gain all those positions. We're going to have to do something from a strategy perspective. Well, attrition has helped her pick up 9 spots, currently sitting in the 9th spot. And her crew chief, Dave Sharpley and company, did a great job of getting that front nose assembly changed when they had to, get her back out without losing a lap. So far, so good for Danica Patrick.
Well, we can tell you there are 15 cars still on the lead lap. Vitor Mira, he just had a pit stop a few laps ago, and he is the last car on that lead lap. 1 lap down in 16th is Sebastian Saavedra. 17th is Scott Dixon. He and Graham Rahal, running in 18th, are 4 laps down. There's your race leader, Dario Franchitti, one of 2 leaders we've had today. He's led 19 of the 23 that we've completed here at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Looking down from high above here in the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, the season opening event for the IZOD INDYCAR Series. And there is your race leader, Dario Franchitti, by 2.2 seconds over Simona Di Silvestro. Third is Tony Kanaan. Justin Wilson is fourth. And then rounding out the top 5 is Will Power. And you noticed something when we went to the onboard shot on Will Power's car.
If you can look there just in front of the rear wheel, you will see it's called the side pod extension. It is starting to flap in the breeze, so he's either had some contact with something or it's come loose. Probably not going to cause any difference in the handling for him, but he certainly hopes that that piece won't get dislodged, hit the tire, and end up puncturing the tire.
Well, while he continues in fourth, let's go back up front, get an update from pit lane on what's happening with the people running in the front spots. Dario Franchitti, Jamie Little.
Well, it's been smooth sailing for Dario Franchitti so far today, but that wasn't the case yesterday in practice. Dario took total blame and said he just made a mistake when he clipped one of the walls, and he had so much damage on the car they took it back. They had to replace the front and rear suspension on the right side and replace the rear wing. But today the car is all put back together, and it has been a rocket ship.
Running in second place is Simona Di Silvestro. She started 17th. She was the Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year a season ago, running for a single-car team in HVM. And Marty and Scott already documented how they were kind of left standing at the altar at the beginning of the season when Michael Cannon left the team a week before the season. She told me earlier this week she was disappointed at that, and she felt like it would set them back. But she has a vibrant personality, very confident. They worked all weekend to make this car better, and right now Simona Di Silvestro sits second. Rick DeBrule.
Well, let's talk about the guy behind her. That's Tony Kanaan, and talk about how the expectations for Tony have changed radically. Remember, they just signed this team together 2 weeks ago. We had a shakedown on Tuesday. They came into this race with the concept of, let's just get some laps on there. Let's just do a good job. And then they started to qualify well. They almost made the Fast Six, and now they're running in third. I think all those expectations have changed. Now they're trying to do the best they can to potentially get a victory, and they have the potential here. Remember, they've got a great driver. They now have an engineer that they haven't worked together, they like a lot. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of this race shakes out for Tony Kanaan.
And they're running that famous number 82. Remember when Jimmy Clark drove the Lotus to victory at the Indianapolis 500? He was running at number 82. Just a little bit behind Tony, Justin Wilson in fourth, then Will Power running in fifth. Alex Tagliani has a great run going up into the sixth position. And Rafa Matos, remember he was basically 2 weeks ago just finding out he was going to have a ride. He's in that number 17 running in the seventh position. There he is.
And you talk about Rafa, remember, he was with DeFerrin Motorsports last year, thought that he had a ride, and unfortunately he found out through the press that he had lost his ride to Tony Kanaan when Gilles DeFerrin and group signed him back in December. And unfortunately he said, you know something, it was the same week that I lost my father. It was very tough. The following week in December, I actually ended up finding out my mother had cancer. A very tough December for Rafa Matos.
It's good to see him have a good run here. There's James Jakes. He's doing real well in his rookie debut. He's running 8th, and here's one of the best battles we've got going because Danica Patrick is now under attack from Takuma Sato in the number 5, and then right behind Sato is J.R. Hildebrand in that number 4 National Guard machine. And Sato, of course, from Japan. He was raised in Tokyo, and he has been running a decal on the side with You Japan. You see it right there, and his thoughts, and he's doing a lot of charity work, Vince, on how he's trying to raise money to help especially the kids over in Japan left homeless by the tsunami.
That's right, Marty, carrying that message, as you indicated, with You Japan in support of the campaign to aid victims for the earthquake and tsunami tragedy. It's part of an overall fundraising initiative involving IndyCar drivers. And Sato spoke and thanked all the drivers for their continued support after the drivers' meeting today. Deeply affected and saddened by what's happening over in Japan. Rick DeBrule?
The guy behind Takuma Sato, J.R. Hildebrand, had been having a very frustrating weekend. They just didn't seem to be able to put it all together. As you see the car coming up behind them, they couldn't put it all together. This morning, they decided to go back to last year's settings.
Inside.
There you see the number 9 car. Target car going by. They decided to go to last year's settings, and as a result, they jumped up much better during the morning warm-up and during the race. Not only were they able to move up as a result of all the problems, but he's been able to pass people. So it's been a much better feeling today compared to where it was the last 2 days.
And right behind him, you're on board with Charlie Kimball, another one of the rookies. And you saw him try and make the move there on J.R. Hildebrand and then think better of it. But what a great story about Charlie. Not the fact that he has type 1 diabetes. He discovered that mid-season back in 2007. But the fact that he is able to race, and it's an interesting story on how he is able to keep in control of his blood sugar level. And you see that little device, circle it for me, Scott, right there on his steering wheel. That actually monitors his blood sugar. And he knows that if he gets too low, he has a drink on board. He can just take more. And he has been able to finish 4th in the championship for Indy Lights last year, Vince. You've had a lot of time to spend with him. He is very, very fascinating.
Well, as you see him take a look inside there, he takes 5 to 6 insulin injections a day, Marty. And you mentioned and actually circled it there, the device that shows his body data, if you will, along with the car data. But he has a self-implantable device in his body that transfers that data onto that device so he can see that on his steering wheel. Very technical. Novo Nordisk, the global diabetes healthcare company sponsoring his car, they manufacture the insulin and the delivery device that he takes. It's a great initiative and certainly a unique driver here in the IZOD INDYCAR Series.
And Vince, I was talking to the team. One thing they're trying to accomplish with the information that he sees with his device is that these cars have real-time telemetry with all the information about the cars sent back to the engineers on their laptop. What they're trying to get accomplished is that the information that's on Charlie's human body log right there in front of him gets sent back via telemetry so they can see it in the pit lane also.
A little bit further back behind Charlie Kimball is Oriol Servia, and here he goes underneath J.R. Hildebrand. So nice pass by Kimball, move him up to the 11th spot. Servia is in pit road. Vince?
Well, Oriol Servia, last time or the time before he had come into pit lane, he had actually stopped in the wrong pit box. They had hoped to have him in once before. He was not able to get the pit stop on that initial occasion, so this time making his way to pit lane, getting the tires and fuel that he needed.
Good job running there, Vince. We could tell you were hustling to get down there, buddy. Servia in 14th spot right now. Vitor Mira, the last car on the lead lap. There is your race leader. Dario Franchitti leads Simona Di Silvestro by 3.6 seconds. And we've completed 33 of the 100 laps. There is your top 5 at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Pit stops have begun here under green. Vince.
There's Danica Patrick. You see the crew making the changes on her race car. Fuel and tires. She's on the reds. The 7 of Danica Patrick.
She was running in the 12th position. Right side of your screen is the race leader, Dario Franchitti, and Takuma Sato came in right behind her, and he gets out ahead of her. So he picks up a spot courtesy of his pit crew.
And for Danica Patrick, it looked like he also put a front wing in her car, so she's looking for a little bit more front grip. 35 complete. The information going to Dario Franchitti, who's been leading this event aboard his target machine. But Di Silvestro has been amazing. And then Tony Kanaan, new team earlier this week, Marty, not amazing.
And he is got a very close Will Power right behind him in hot pursuit.
Will's car does not look to be planted on the ground like it did the first couple of days. He's going to try and have a look on the inside of Tony Kanaan going into 4, but Tony is just as aggressive as Will Power. Watch Will's hands right now. Before yesterday, very smooth. He's rolling through these turns, carrying the speed all the way through mid-turns. Does not look like he can put his foot on the gas. Now the red tires that he's aboard, you can see the red wall on those tires themselves. They do start to fall off the longer you run them. The car just might be losing overall grip right now. Maybe can't get power down to be able to keep up with Tony, who seems to be stretching away from him at this point.
Everybody in the top 10 right now is on the alternate red. That is a softer compound. Gives you more grip, but it also fades quicker. There's the gap between first and second. Dario Franchitti, his time over Simona Di Silvestro, 4.07 seconds. There is third and fourth, Tony Kanaan and Will Power. Then Justin Wilson coming through in the 5th spot, 9 seconds behind the race leader. We can tell you now officially Ryan Hunter-Reay, Mike Conway, and Marco Andretti are out of this race. And the bad news for Andretti Autosport, that's all 3 of their cars. Only Danica Patrick remains.
Saw Tony lock up the brakes a little bit there going into turn 4 aboard his Geico machine. There again, tires could start to be losing their grip a little bit. Under braking also, it's line dependent. Drivers try to find a spot that's on the course where the car spends more time in contact with the road. With the bumps around here, you look for that as a driver. You try to find the perfect line. Then you have to be able to hit it lap after lap after lap. If